let me introduce first Jim Hensley, Rich Rollins, Laura Hernandez, Steve Gama, and Dan Tullis. And Jim, we're going to start off with you, your opening remarks.
Very good. Minute and a half, sir?
Minute and a half.
30 seconds is all I got?
No,
Hello, everybody. I'm Jim. Hello. Hello, everybody. Can you hear me? Jim Hensley, City Councilman for the last 4 years. I ran on getting the government cleaned up, and I ran into a bailiwick of stuff, and I did. So that's what I've been fighting for the last 4 years, but I still made a lot of accomplishments. Now, I want to defer something to my hat. Somebody felt, a couple of people in the audience a few weeks ago, that this was an inappropriate hat of being a disabled American veteran. But at that time, I'd had a scalp removal of precancerous cells, and I had to wear it. But then it dawned on me, I wear this because it's a statement hat, and so many of my veteran friends and my fellow group members have been ignored by Congress, by a lot of different people, and we're not getting our entitlements that's been promised to us. So I wear that statement to people to let them know our veterans need better than lip service. So going into it, last month, I wear my other one. Here we go. 30 seconds. I'll deny it right flat out. Somebody kind of hinted that maybe I harassed somebody in the city council. Last time it was kind of an oblique question. I didn't harass anybody. If I ask somebody a question, it's a staff member, like in the military, I expect an honest answer. And when somebody doesn't tell me his truth to the public, then I'm going to keep digging. And that really upset a few people. There goes so much for transparency. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Rich Rollins, and my motto is rich on experience, rich on involvement, and that's what I have done. For 35 years, I worked in 3 different cities as a community services manager. My job was to meet the needs of that community, regardless of where they were coming from. In addition to that, from a voluntary standpoint, I've been everything from the executive director for the West Side Special Olympics, where we had to raise money. I worked for 3 different cities where my job was to manage employees, set goals and objectives, develop a budget, and more importantly, keep within that budget. I think that's one of our biggest concerns. I look at the city budget as my own family budget. If I don't have the money for a Cadillac, I live with a Toyota. That's that.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here tonight, and thank you to our moderator and to Save the Port Hueneme Coast for hosting tonight's forum. I think we're all here for the same reason. I think all of us want good leadership on our city council. We want good leadership. We want a city council that can work together. We want a city council that can decide key issues and make the tough decisions. And we want a city council who can effectively engage all members of our community, no matter your political party, no matter your way of thinking. We want to engage everybody, young and old. As a candidate for city council, I will bring leadership, local government experience, and a passion for public service. My vision for your city council is to enhance public safety services so we all feel safe in our home, neighborhoods, beaches, and parks. I will work hard to address our city's aging infrastructure and make sure our streets, sewer, and water systems are safe and functioning properly. I also believe in fiscal accountability of your hard-earned tax dollars. I believe that's a priority and that you deserve to receive the best city services available. I will work hard to galvanize the community to become more involved in local government and our neighborhoods. Together we can make a better Port Hueneme. Thank you again for being here.
Thank you. My name is Stephen Gama, and the job of city council member is by no means an easy job, and the current circumstances of our city make it a little more difficult. I'm running for city council to inspire Hueneme residents to get involved and to step up on community service. This event is really inspiring because it's and coming to a meeting and speaking out. We may not always agree, but we need all to work together. A year ago to this day, I was inspired by young children battling cancer. The children made me realize that I was lucky because I had a childhood free of cancer. So I started on my chemo treatment, keeping those children in mind, and it got me through it. And in those days of my treatments, I continued performing community service here in Hueneme Beach. And it's made me a strong person, and I believe that it shows that I'm capable of a difficult job. I'm capable of putting my effort out in front to make the city better. And I would like to emphasize that we need to focus on the budget first and foremost, and we also need to focus on the beach and business, make Hueneme the friendly business city by the sea.
Good evening. We start by saying that I don't have any government experience except growing up on Air Force bases, where I got to see government up close. Which is also a reason that I'm for single-payer health care, because that's what we had. Just a quick personal story. At 9, I broke my arm, dislocated my shoulder, traveled from Dover, Delaware to Philadelphia, 78 miles of old 2-lane highways back then. And for about 3 days after the surgery, I didn't eat. And they called my dad and said, "Why isn't he eating?" And he said, "There's something wrong. He eats everything." And when he got there, I told him, "Well, it's going to cost you a lot of money." And he said, "I'm in the Air Force. The government pays for this. Go ahead and eat." Then he left and said, "You're all in trouble now." Another reason for the idea of universal health care. No child should have to worry about something like that. Here in Hueneme, I think we need to get a urgent care hospital somewhere. And the fact that I have no experience in this means that I'm coming in with ideas that literally aren't shaped by what's happened elsewhere. It's only by whatever I see, and I hope you and the rest of your friends and families will come and let us know whatever it is you need if I'm fortunate enough to be on that city council. Thank you.
Okay, starting with a question here. This has to do with Measure U. There's some information on the back table for those of you not familiar with this particular measure. So I'm going to preface the question by a little information. This is the ballot measure, 9/11 Essential Services Measure. If enacted, the measure would generate about $1.5 to $1.8 million a year. Fort Hueneme is one of the few cities in the county of our size with its own local police department, which guarantees neighborhood patrols and that our officers are available when needed. The tax would be raised from 7.75% to 8.75%. Food purchased as groceries and prescription medication are exempt from this measure. If enacted, Measure U would also fund road repair, fix potholes, maintain streets, sidewalks, and curbs, maintain parks, beaches, and other public facilities. Measure U requires, this is through the city website, Measure U requires strict accountability, including a financial oversight committee and annual independent financial audits to ensure that the funds are spent properly and used locally for Fort Hueneme's benefit only. The Measure U funds cannot be taken by the state. So 2 questions, and I'll start with Rich. Do you support a yes vote for Measure U? And if this does not pass, what then?
First of all, I'm going to go, I support Measure U. I don't like taxes any more than anybody else, but ultimately we're running $1 million a year in a deficit. If that was your, we're cutting into our reserves, our savings. If we wait 2 or 3 years, we're not going to be a city. We're really not going to have that choice. One of the other major revenue sources that's come up recently is the cannabis. Right now, it's projected that we're going to bring in $600 to $1 million a year, and people say, well, we got the cannabis, why do we need this tax? Well, lo and behold, you give it a couple years, one of the biggest salespeople, one of the biggest customers of our cannabis industry right now is Oxnard. They've done percentages, and I think it's like 60 to 70%. You wait, Oxnard's going to start having cannabis sales, and that revenue source is going to drop. I'm all very much in favor that, we always need to look at our budgets to make sure that we're running efficiently. From a police standpoint, I'm happy that we have our own police force. If we don't become if we no longer become a city, or we move it out to someone, you can make sure that we're not going to have that personal care. I know that right now that the police go out there, and if you're sick, they come and visit you.
Thank you, Tom. Yes, I am in favor of Measure U. I have watched the city council grapple with the issue of digging into our reserve funds for many years now. We can't continue doing that. That is not a strategy. We have to have a comprehensive strategy in terms of how we raise revenue for our city, and Measure U is just one part of that overall strategy. Cannabis is another part of that strategy, but we cannot rely on that entirely. We don't know that that's going to be how long-term that source of revenue is going to be. I agree with Rich. Not all of us like raising taxes, but I think that the existing city council has done their due diligence to look at the options available to us, and so I feel compelled to support Measure U, keep our police department here local, repair our streets, and support our general fund.
If the goal is to be the highest tax city in Ventura County, then you got to support Measure U. I'm not sold yet because I'm conflicted with the information the city puts forth about their financial condition. The police and the city can't even agree on the audited financials of the city. We know that police overtime is very high. I think it's near $756,000 this year. So we also know that our insurance costs have risen significantly over the last couple of years. And I haven't seen any serious actions to try and lower those expenses. So my campaign talked about the budget first and foremost, and we have to be good stewards of the budget first before we could be trusted with additional revenue and becoming the highest tax city in Ventura County. So part of the problem with being a city the size we are is we don't have the benefit of large numbers. And if you don't have the benefit of large numbers, when one police officer calls in sick or is injured and can't come to work, it has a cascading effect on costs. So we need to find ways to deal with the costs that are running up on us, and I'm just not sure that I can support Measure U.
I've had a chance to give this some thought, and it's the same thought I had a few weeks ago. I like the reason for it, but I don't like raising taxes either, especially in the economy we're in now. Prices are up about 30%. Food prices will be going up between hurricanes, immigration, and people not being able to pick the food. The prices are going to go up. Wages have gone up 2.8% while the prices are up 30%, and inflation is higher than the 2.8%. If you're on a fixed income, you're in big trouble. Like I said, the reason is good because we do want to make sure that our police are taken care of properly. Right now, there's supposed to be 23 police officers. One retired, one went to the sheriff's department, and 2 are injured. So that's down to 19. Most cities have 1.5 police officers per 1,000. We're well below 1. So when you call, they're on extra duty, no matter what they're doing, because they're overworking right now. The chief said they've had people come in, apply, and none of them qualified. So they're having a hard time replacing the people they need. The money will help. No matter what it costs, we need to have public safety. And as a city council, it's our job to make sure that money goes where it's supposed to go. And that's, I think, the number one thing. But I think it has to be done.
Thank you. appreciate it. It's an excellent question because I've been hammered on it ever since it came out. One of my friends, an editor, emailed me, Jim, this is the most regressive tax that you're voting for. Well, I tried to explain I didn't vote for it. I'm ambivalent about the tax. I wanted to put it on the ballot because they said there was a crush for money. Okay, let the citizens decide. I'm not for it, I'm not against it. But the one other thing that the other alternative was is a property tax. That would have been far more regressive. This tax, I'm finding out about 50% of the sales that come into Fort Hueneme are from out-of-town people or people who live over here in the county. So we're not going to be paying that much more. And if we need it, the one thing that I'm concerned about is that we have a proper watchdog and we don't go back into the corruption mode, the nepotism mode that we had when I first got in the council and have people squirreled off for top management. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question, how do you plan to stop the outrageous amount of money paid by the city to settle lawsuits? What have you learned?
Well, the city has certainly had their share of lawsuits, their share of claims, their share of harassment suits as well, and that I think the city has addressed so far. I think they've addressed it well. We nearly got to a point where we lost our insurance, and I think that the city has successfully addressed that. But we need an environment where we treat our employees with the dignity and the respect that they deserve. We should all be professional. We should learn to agree to disagree in a polite and courteous way. I think that part of my wanting to be on the city council was to bring balance and professionalism to our city council and to our city. I think we're on our way to recovering from the past, but we need a ways to go, and I hope to make that change.
First and foremost, the city has to take responsibility for its insurance problems. Department heads must make safety their number one priority and have to treat their employees with dignity and respect. The city, on the other hand, needs to implement programs designed to return people to work so that they're not out on disability claims. An effective return to work program needs to be implemented, and employees with temporary work restrictions need to be accommodated so they can come to work. For the year that just ended, 2017 to 18, the police had a 165% loss ratio for workers' comp claims. So what that means is that 65% more is being generated in cost than the money they've been set aside for insurance purposes. So that's a problem. That needs to be turned around. That's harking back to the law of large numbers. When you have such a small group, one injury could turn the program unbalanced, and that's what's happened here. So the same thing has happened on liability, except it's for the administrative employees that created liability claims, and it's turned around recently, but as little as 4 years ago, the loss ratio for liability claims was 186%. So these are the things I'm talking about. A city needs to get these things under control before it becomes a crisis. And this is the reason why I'm having difficulty supporting Measure U.
Wow. I think that the city and anyone is subject to lawsuits from anyone. I don't know exactly how the city can actually do anything about that. I was a personal trainer some years ago and went with a woman up to the Santa Barbara Fire Department to help them figure out ways that they could work out and avoid some of the injuries that they get as firefighters. While we watched them all day go through their training and show us various exercises, when we left and drove away, we literally said to each other, oh my God, there's nothing we can do. They're already doing everything they can. You lift weights so your muscles are strengthened, but if you lift a 75-pound ladder off the side of a truck by yourself, all that work in your lower back is going to get strained because there's no way you can do it properly. You need to be able to step up on something, have help, but if there's a fire going, you want that one guy to do it or that one woman. And so there's a lawsuit done properly, or at least the guy out of work having to get workers' comp. So the only thing we can do is, besides technology, or I don't even know what else that we can do. Technology may have made it easier for them to deal with that ladder. That's gonna cost the city if they got a truck that can actually lift that ladder out for them, or whatever it takes. That's why even if the city does everything they can, we're still going to be subject to lawsuits. All the insurance that comes in, it still may not be enough. It just depends. Somebody steps on it's a crack, twists an ankle, just don't know.
Thank you very much. Outrageous lawsuits. You're absolutely right. There has been outrageous lawsuits and settlements. I'm in disagreement with them, but as I got further into the city, I started to noticing this was like golden parachutes being handed out to top administrators when they wanted to go somewhere or retire for an extra $200,000, $300,000. And that's not right. Unfortunately, it became practice what I consider JPIA, the Joint Powers Insurance Authority, was kind of in conclusion with it because they hire out attorneys at $400 and $500 an hour for people they fire to keep them from getting settlements. So that's something that's been totally wrong, and it needs to stop, but that's in a higher plane. You see this in cities, school boards, all over the country, and this has to stop. We've got to stop the government rip-offs. Thank you.
What Ms. Hernandez said, I kind of agree in my own little words. Basically, we have to treat people with respect and understanding. You and I can disagree whether or not the wall should be blue or green, but we don't have to become vindictive about it. We don't have to call names with each other, because ultimately, if you do that, you break the communication barrier. And later on, there may be something that we agree on, but no longer. I'm not going to agree with that person no matter what. And so I think, be it city employees, I think all city employees want to do the best possible job that they can. The police department, down to the workers who do mow the lawn. So we need to treat them with respect. We need to treat each of us with respect. We're all here because we want the city to be better. We may have different ideas on how to do it, but we don't have to be mean-spirited about it. That's why a lot of these things occur. I worked, as I said, in 3 different cities. If you imagine litigious Santa Monica had nothing but potential lawsuits, but we were trained at an early age, meaning when I first started working there, the proper way to work with people, listen to differing points of view, and work in a nice manner. Workers' comp claims, the police and fire have perhaps the most dangerous job. They're going to have workers' comp claims. What we used to do was we would figure out ways that they could be productive to the city in other types of ways.
I have 2 questions here that are kind of related. I'm going to read them both, but I think we've touched on it already a little bit. Okay, we have 2 questions. For those in the back, we have 2 questions that are related. I think we've touched on it a little bit, but maybe we can be more specific. Here are the 2 questions. How do you propose the city address unfunded pension liabilities? And going forward, how would you keep us out of a similar mess? Could be 3 of them. And do you think our budget woes could be solved by contracting with the Sheriff's Department for our own police services? That would be Steve.
Pension unfunded liability is a big problem, and it's not a problem that's just in the city of Port Hueneme. It's a nationwide problem because of promises made to past employees have a financial reality in today's budget.
You've got to be a little louder.
Can you hear me? Okay, I thought that. Okay, pension liability is a big problem for all the cities, county government, nationwide problem, and we need to do something about it. aggressively. I don't believe the city has conducted an actuarial study on pension liability, but it's something that needs to be done ASAP. When I was working with Oxnard Union High School District, I was the co-chair of the Retiree Medical Benefit Trust. We had a very large unfunded liability, and we started a trust to try and earn down that unfunded liability for medical insurance for retirees. Part of the reason why I'm having trouble with Measure U is because I've been looking at this California Transparency website, and in that website it lists salaries for police officers, and you can type in Fort Hueneme, and some of the numbers on there are staggering, and I'm not sure if they're completely accurate, but for a senior officer, you're looking at total compensation north of $200,000, $220,000. So with numbers like that, no wonder we have unfunded liability with pension. But we need to take a look at reducing management pay particularly, and other ways to reduce that liability.
Well, it's too bad we have to keep talking about police and fire. I'm very hard pressed to be angry with the amount of money police and firemen make. I wouldn't do it. My dad tried to recruit me onto the Oxnard PD in the 70s when they were still having a relatively good PR going for them. There's no way now. And I just spoke to a young woman on the department the other night who said, we're not the highest paid in the county anymore. So as far as they know, they aren't. Unfunded liability or pension, again, my dad was 20 years in the Air Force. I was able to go to school on the GI Bill until I was 26. Now, if you're in the military, you get $50,000 to be distributed however you choose to put it out there. That's what I was told by some young men. Whether that's after 20 years, I don't know. But the point is, if you make promises to people to put their lives on the line, especially police and fire, there's no way you go back on that if you still want to have a decent department. They are dedicated to their jobs. They will do it, even if it does cost them money. They also have families like the rest of us. And so I have a hard time arguing with giving them decent pensions, or at least good. And I'm in 3 unions, actually 2 are combined, so I have a pension coming anyway. Thank goodness. But I earned it over several years, and I don't expect anybody to try and roll back on it.
Unfunded pension liabilities and outsourcing to the Sheriff's Department. First, it's my opinion, watching the city and a lot of other organizations, the top management in our city, it's kind of like it was a fiefdom, where the top level people had very high pensions, they kept raising it up, and then they would get a golden parachute on their way out the door. But if you start talking about the average staff employee, like teachers, they're not that high, their employment. But there is a real serious problem in regard to changing throughout the whole state of California, probably the nation, for underfunded liability. As far as going to the Sheriff's Department, I like our police department. I feel they have a tap on it, and if we go to the sheriff's, then we're in trouble. All of our equipment is sold off. If we, like some other towns that I've talked to in meetings, you don't get your equipment back very easily. You have to suck it up and stay with it. And I like our own police department. There's not officers changing around all the time. That's my thoughts.
Okay, first of all, as far as unfunded pensions, you need to stick to your word. Many of these people that get these pensions now, who are in their late 50s or 60s, started off working, providing community service, making maybe $500 a month, if you can remember back then, like when I remember. So they took jobs on that basically civil service jobs were not the thing that you took on as a plum job. You wanted to do that job because you worked for the community. The police, we have what I would describe as not a pristine. I would say we have a really good police department. I think it's perhaps one of the best police departments in the area. But do we pay for it? Yes. When you have we have kind of the Mayberry of police departments. They go out and They go out and do community service. We have one of the lowest crime rates in the area. If a senior is hurt, they come out there. We pay for that. So so as far as outsourcing it, I've lived in cities and worked in cities where we outsourced it. You do not get the same community service. You do not get the same personal service, and the crime rate is quite a bit. Look at Lenox. Look at a lot of these places that have county police departments.
Thank you, Tom. The problem of unfunded pension liability is not just Fort Waineme's problem. It is a nationwide problem, as Stephen Gama mentioned. If you're a government employee, you are attracted to work for a government because of the retirement benefits that the local governments, state governments, and federal governments offer. We need to remain competitive in order to attract qualified, not only police officers, but also firefighters, city workers, and staff. In order to remain competitive, you have to offer a benefit. Now, in 2013, CalPERS passed what is known as the Pension Reform Act. So any new hires that came on board after 2013 are entering into a different pension plan that will help reduce and eliminate the problem that we've seen occur with previous pensions. There's been government employees have been known to spike their pensions and include overtime and other kinds of benefits in the final calculation of their retirement. That cannot happen anymore. And since 2013, with new hires, we expect that not to happen. And that has been one step toward remedying this problem. Perhaps there will be others, but that step, I think everybody needs to understand, has changed. That process has changed. Thank you.
Next question. This is again going to be two questions in one. Do you agree that the Oxnard wastewater treatment plant is in serious trouble with failing? It's a 70-year-old plant. The plant serves Fort Hueneme, Oxnard, the port, the Navy base, and portions of Camarillo. It is permitted to treat approximately 32 million gallons of wastewater per day of the local communities. It has had several major raw sewage spills, most recently over 200,000 gallons in July of 2017, prompting beach closures due to health advisories at Ormond Beach and Hueneme Beach. $9.5 million was just obtained for the plant, but this is seen as a temporary measure or Band-Aid at best by many. Do you agree that the failing plant is a serious problem to the future development in Fort Hueneme?
Absolutely. After having watched what happened in South Africa with their water shortage, and that was just clean water, people taking showers in buckets so they could save that water. We don't want to go there, and we certainly don't want foul water mixing in with clean, because sometimes you don't know it until it's too late. There's no question that there needs to be work done on the wastewater treatment plant. The question of how to get that done is another story. The idea that we're calling ourselves a beach community, which obviously we are, and then have to shut down the beach is counterproductive. So there really shouldn't be any argument about getting that wastewater plant repaired. I don't think replacing it is an option, but clearly there has to be something done about that. Now, how? Again, with the tax structure the way it is, and only in a fixed income location, with Ormond Beach, that's a super fund area that should have been taken care of decades ago. So until I get a chance to look more deeply into the situation, we've all heard the newspaper reports and been there ourselves, and you can take tours. I really don't know exactly what to tell you about how to fix it, except that it needs to be done. Who didn't know that? Show of hands.
last point. I think water saving gardens will save us a lot of money. We got to be thinking about not having grass in our front yard that looks green. That saves a lot of money. Part of this is a good planner. As you plan for your home and stuff like that, you think ahead. You're going to need to have that house painted 10 years from now, and you save for that so that when it comes, you're not caught up with, we don't have the money to repair the leaky pipes and that type of thing. If I become your councilman, I want to build up those reserves so that we're able to take care of the really basic necessities like the pipes that are rusting away and stuff like that. It shouldn't happen. There should be a good capital improvement plan where each year we fix certain pipes. Just like each year we fix the potholes in the roads, we've forgotten about the water pump plant, and now we're being hurt by that. Ideally, recently with the water shortages, we used to get more water from the mountains. Now we're having to use more water from the groundwater. Groundwater digs up these pipes quite a bit, so it's going to be something that we're going to have to deal with in the future. And that's it.
Aging infrastructure is one of government's biggest problems. A 70-year-old water treatment plant is certainly going to be an issue. And unfortunately, sometimes we're so busy looking at what's in front of us, we don't look down the road and plan appropriately. I've had experience working with many special districts, cities, county agencies, and collaborating with water districts. And I think that's going to be what it's going to take in order to address this issue appropriately. The $9.5 million we received through, was it Jackie Irwin or Julia Brownlee? Thank you very much, Julia and Jackie. Will not go far enough. So where are we going to get that money? Where are we going to get that money to do our part? So if Measure U can help us in any way, I would support Measure U and using those funds to do so. We have to look at our options. We have to explore other ways to raise revenue because we know that this is going to cost money and this is going to be a regional problem, just not a Port Hueneme problem. And I look forward to working on this with our partners in the county and then the city of Oxnard. Thank you.
All of us up here are running for city council for the city of Port Hueneme. The question was, do we believe what Oxnard's putting out there regarding the wastewater plant? I don't know what to believe, but I do know that it's 70 years old, or at least that's what we're talking about right now. So I think realistically, yeah, there's got to be some maintenance, there's got to be some major overhaul over there. But like Laura said, who's leading the charge here? Who's organizing the interested parties to get the job done? So we as a body are going to have to communicate with the city of Oxnard, and we may not like their politics, we may not like the people that they elect, but we're going to have to sit down and figure out a way so that we can have our wastewater service. Clearly, if we have a failing plant, it's going to affect the city of Oxnard, the city of Port Hueneme, the base, the port. So it's a serious problem. So fully answer the question, confidence in government is at an all-time low. And I think it's at an all-time low because of problems like this. So in risk management, we know the first step is to identify a problem. Well, we have a problem with the wastewater treatment plant. So what we need to do as leaders for the city of Port Hueneme, we need to help develop alternatives to deal with the problem. And then we have to try and lead the city of Oxnard and others to make a decision and then implement and try and solve the problem working all together. And that's what I would bring to the table in regards to the question of whether or not that plant is truly falling apart.
Next question. What do you, I'm going to get an F for microphone worthiness. Yeah. What do you plan? This is for Jim. What do you plan to do about the odors coming from the new paper recycling plant? I think this is pretty prevalent over by site 3.
Yes. The question is about the paper processing plant and the odors.
10 years ago, I liked the idea that I came to a nice, peaceful community where it was fresh air, low density. The third day that I moved into my house, all of a sudden the wind blew, and I smelled that paper. My kids said, "What the heck is that stuff?" They said it in different types of words. Years ago, I cannot understand the Oxnard, Port Hueneme city planners, why they built all these things at our precious coast. They built metal slag plants, they built paper mills, and maybe now it's the time that we lobby to, maybe there's a different location that those things should be moved to. Maybe at one point in time, nobody cared about it, but now we have a nice community here, and that's, I think, destroys kind of the nature of the community, and we've got to do something like about that. Now, this is going to be something that is not going to be handled by, we can advocate for it. I'm sure Oxnard would advocate for it. But, you know, it's going to be kind of a national, or at least a statewide effort to get this done. It's certainly for the Ormond Beach, it's going to be a national effort to get rid of all that metal waste and that radioactive stuff that they used to. I was surprised that they dumped underground. We just got to cut that out. And so we have a nice community with nice property values, and this is not going to help.
You know, I'm curious as to what else is seeping from those paper plants, the paper recycling plants, and the other factories that are set up along the coast. And unfortunately, they're right next to a treasured bird sanctuary that has the potential to bring tourism to Port Hueneme. But this calls again for leadership. Somebody from our city council to work cooperatively and diplomatically with the cities of Oxnard, invite our supervisor Kelly Long to be at the table, perhaps Julia Brownlee and Jackie Irwin also to sit at the table and look at these issues and find a way to resolve them so that each party has input and walks away, maybe not totally happy, but has at least we walk away with a solution. I take this problem seriously. I've heard residents complain about it. I don't doubt that it's occurring, and as a city council member, whether I believe it's occurring or not is not the issue. We have an unhappy resident, and we need to address their concerns.
I can tell you that there are odors, and from time to time they get worse, and sometimes they get really bad. One of the most positive things that has happened here recently in this area is that the city of Oxnard has 5 districts for electing city council members, because the South Oxnard area was never represented by a council member. So that's a very positive aspect of addressing the issues we're talking about right now, because the source of those problems are coming from the city of Oxnard. They're not from the city of Port Hueneme. So we're going to have to work with the county. We're going to have to work with the city of Oxnard. We're going to have to even probably go higher than that to get action to deal with these big problems. That paper plant has been, and you know, one good thing is the metal smelting operation is gone. And believe me, I used to surf out there a lot when I was young, and I used to see the smoke billowing from that place. So at least we don't have to deal with the smoke. But these other problems of odor and the paper and the wastewater treatment facility, those are huge problems, and we're going to have to get the city of Oxnard, District 5, I believe. We need to get with that representative, and we need to communicate to that representative that there's a problem down here in the South Oxnard area on the border of Hueneme, and we're going to have to work together to solve it. My time's up.
I've been close enough to the wastewater, I didn't know about the paper. But obviously, one of the things that I'm finding interesting is I don't understand why there's even a dispute between us and whatever city. The smell is a problem, and if the wind shifts, it's going to affect Oxnard. It should gas leaks in your stove, thank God it stinks. So, because I just saved my mother's life doing that a few months ago. As I was leaving, I walked back in, smelled the gas in the place because she had accidentally left the burner on without the flame. And had I left, spark, and that would have been it. As far as the smell is concerned, it's inconvenient, but until, once again, we get a chance to sit down with engineers and biologists and all of those people, olfactory people who know about how to make things smell a little better, it's going to have to turn something that's actually a pile of something unpleasant into a rose.
I have a question here. That works pretty good. I have a question here that I don't think is quite a softball question, but I want to ask all of you this question first and have you think about what you would say. Someone once described Fort Hueneme as a boring drive, a nothing pier, and the sand was too soft. How would you describe Fort Hueneme? Rich.
I lived 30 years in the city of Los Angeles. I like the fact, frankly, that for most of the time, the only reason people come here is to live here. We have a very good port, and that provides us with a lot of business. I particularly don't want, this is what I call the best kept secret. In many cases, where in California can you buy homes this close to the water that are reasonable, that you can enjoy that community? I am in agreement that one of the things I would like to see is to bring some tourism to the city. We do have some, I don't know how soft the beach is, but my kids love coming here to surf. I know that the community enjoys those beaches. I don't want this to become a Santa Monica beach. You can bring lots of people in here, but I don't think we as residents want that to happen, frankly. Balanced tourism, balanced development, I think that's why we move here. I made it in an earlier statement. If you want a lot of activity, hey, we can go a few miles down to Oxnard. There's all the restaurants and all the development you'll ever want. I like it nice here.
Port Hueneme's our own little piece of paradise, and yes, it's off the beaten path, and it's hard to get, it's hard to get people to come and visit here, but I enjoy the city of Port Hueneme and its size because I can always depend on the services here. I know my parking enforcement person, everybody knows our parking enforcement person. I know my police officers. I don't have to stand in line at City Hall. I love the close-knit community that we have here. And our beaches are wonderful. Our city public works department has done a great job of taking care and maintaining the restrooms and upgrading the picnic tables out there. I want us to be the friendly city by the sea. And I don't care so much about the sand. We have sand, but we have to make sure that it stays on our beaches. In that sense, I do care about the sand. I don't care about the feeling of the sand, but I care about that it's there. And I think we can do more to make this, to improve our quality of life. That's what I'm running for city council for. And I'd like to keep things just the way they are. Thank you.
Star-Spangled Hueneme, that's the way I describe it to some of my friends. Every morning at 8 a.m. you can hear the Star-Spangled Banner blasting aloud. In the evening, you get to listen to taps. When I'm sitting in my backyard listening to taps, watching the birds fly by, I'm like, man, this is a great place. I'm a surfer, so for me it's all about the beach. I'm a 55-year-old surfer now, so I do better picking up trash than catching waves. But Hueneme is like a family, and it's a family made up of 3 family members: the port, and the Navy base, and the city. And these 3 family members, we all need to stick together. We need to work together to keep all of us functioning well. And I just love the fact that over the years, it seems like the Navy caught on to the fact that we actually enjoy hearing the Star-Spangled Banner and taps in the afternoon. And it seems like they've turned up the volume. And it's really cool because in every corner of this city, a bunch of letters that say something to the effect that my love is so strong it's made it all the way to Hueneme. And I found them picking up trash, and I have them on my table over there, and they're just beautiful letters, and that sums it up for me. Thank you.
I grew up on military bases. Those are enclosed communities, and loved it. The neighbors, international. And as I look around the room, I'm thinking about the future of Hueneme. And when you look around the room, you see somebody in here under 40. Not a lot. And the reason, I'm not saying anything bad about people over 40, because I'm well over that. I'm talking about the fact they're not here. They're going to be the structure that keeps this place going. And unless there's a way to get them involved, which includes using the beach, I went down and talked to 24 people right after I took out the paperwork to run. 4 were from Hueneme at the beach, down there at the pier. Use has to be upticked. The way you do that is you got one restaurant on the pier, and nobody has any reason to come down there. And it's great to have a small community, but if you're going to complain about taxes, because there's not enough money, and there's not enough police officers, and there's going to be property taxes raised, and the price of housing is doing this right now, which is great if you want to sell, but where are you going to move to if you got to pay that much more after you move out of this one? So it all sounds good until you start to think about that. And that's the sort of thing we have to think about as a community, and how to bring things in. And as many of you probably know, I'm an entertainer, and I just told Actors Equity yesterday I plan to bring professionals here as best I can.
Jim?
Thanks. Soft sanded beaches, is everybody has a different opinion of things, a different perception of things. I've been to beaches in Hawaii where you step and you sink down that coral sand about that far each step. So I have no complaints about our sand, except it keeps disappearing. We need to do something about that. The infrastructure, when I first came on board, I was really concerned because our bathrooms, our restrooms in Miranda Park and at the beach was deplorable condition. I had people coming up from my neighborhood and they'd take their friends over to the beach and say, that's like a third world bathroom. I don't want to take my kids into those bathrooms. Fortunately, we did. The deferred maintenance was there. It was committed funds, but now we have Don Villafana, our new public works director. We have a new city manager that's given permission to get some of the stuff done. And now we're going to go steps further, hopefully, of having TV cameras out, because there's still a lot of people that's moving into Miranda Park. The homeless are moving there. We've got to address these issues to keep our city nice and clean and happy. And let's do it. Let's get another 4 years for me and get 2 of these people on to help me, and we'll go for it. Okay? Thank you.
I have 2 questions here. They're principally the same, so I'd like to read them.
Well, homelessness is certainly a problem throughout the state of California, at least. And I think it's important to understand the homeless population tends to reflect some of the things that are broken in our system. Lack of affordable housing, alcohol and drug problems, mental health issues. These are 3 systems in our county that are broken and that we're trying to repair. And the county's doing a lot to address the homeless issue. They've set up one-stop care centers. I was involved in the establishment of one of them in Santa Paula, where people could come and get medical screenings, get something to eat, get a shower, and get a fresh change of clothes. We have to put our minds around the fact that there's a lot of diversity in terms of why people are homeless. They're not just thieves, they're alcohol or addicted to drugs. There's a variety of reasons why people are on the street these days. Currently, there are no homeless shelters in Fort Hueneme, but we have next door in Oxnard, the Rescue Mission, the Kingdom and Lighthouse homeless shelters, and shelters that accept women and children. The problem is complex. The answer is found in the word home. These people need homes, and if we can work collaboratively with the county, we can find a solution.
Miranda Park. And part of the problem with Miranda Park is they have a bunch of places they could hide, and you can't see them. And so, as the park has fallen into disrepair, there's no longer stadium lights there for the baseball field, there's no longer lights on the tennis courts. This creates a perfect environment for homeless people to do what they do. And without moving them to appropriate shelter areas or trying to help them get help, they just found a nice little place that meets their needs. So I'm a compassionate person, but at the same time, we need to hold people accountable. And it breaks my heart sometimes to see some of the problems that these individuals are going through. Recently, a few days ago, the Coastal Commission approved eradicating a bunch of non-native plants over there at Perkins Road. So what did that mean? That means about 30 or 40 homeless people now had their homes torn apart. And guess where they ended up? Walking through Hueneme. So suddenly I'm seeing 3 and 4 and 5 people I've never seen before in Miranda Park. So again, we're on the border of this city called Oxnard, and we need to try to work together to solve some of these problems.
A couple of things, just a couple, I have more. That day that I went down to the beach to talk to people about the city and what their problems were, I met a young woman, probably about 5'1" and 95, maybe 100 pounds, with her 2-year-old. And I talked to her for a few minutes and found out that she was living in a camper parked at the beach because she was running from her boyfriend, who was a meth addict. And because she hadn't seen him in a while, she doesn't know what he looks like. Because apparently he's off his meds and has apparently possibly grown a full beard and long hair. So she doesn't have a clue what he looks like. She doesn't know if he's incarcerated, doesn't know if he's running loose. She's basically homeless because she can get in her camper and move around, but there's nowhere else for her to go. The other problem that I see is, as we've talked about, the mental health issues, the addiction problems. When I was in Europe in the mid-'80s, even back that far, in Geneva, there was an RV parked in their Central Park, and it supplied clean needles, medical care, and they didn't have, because it was legal, they didn't have to go hide somewhere and use it. The police were able to monitor them easier, the neighborhood knew where they were, and they were easily able to just avoid them. There was a central place they could go. It's just like if you're looking for immigrants. They don't have any place to go. What do you do with them? If they're undocumented, they can't work, they're going to be on us. Just like your health care, the same deal.
The homeless, and what are we going to do with them? It's kind of obvious, a long time ago, we're having increasing populations and more limited resources. And then California, maybe many of you don't remember, but California did have one of the best mental health programs in the whole nation, the whole world. And we had a governor that decided that we didn't need to have those mental facilities for them, and we're going to put them in transition homes. And all of a sudden, who is the mental health programs now? Many times the county jail. And that's not right. They're not getting the treatment they need. And unfortunately, it's overloading our budget of hiring people to take care of them in the county jail. I think it probably costs more to keep them in the county jail than a proper facility. Here, we have a real problem, and we're not going to be able to solve it because we don't have any people with a place to put it. But we need to work with the other communities and outreach and get more housing and separate these different integral problems and take care of them individually, because there's individual problems in different groups. Thank you.
I worked for 25 years for the city of Santa Monica, the home for the homeless. One of the things that we learned real quick was there were basically 3 types of homeless people. You had the homeless people that chose it as a lifestyle, very few, what you term the vagabonds. You had the homeless that were there because something happened in their life where they lost their house, something personal happened. They really don't want to be homeless. For those people, we developed work training programs and things like that to get them back on their feet. Because most people don't want to be homeless. The third group were those who had, through be it their own problem or other types of things that happened, had some severe mental health problems. They are never going to be, you would not want to hire them for your businesses, and so they're going to be a continual problem. You don't, first of all, our beaches and our beaches and our parks are not homeless, they're not shelters. They're not meant to be shelters. They're meant to be what they're for people to recreate. The other thing you want to do is to keep things like, say, recycling bins and things like that, not close, in close proximity to where you want them to be living, because they're not going to be spreading out. They're going to be looking to make money any way they can. And so you want to get rid of those. Simple things that work.
The next item I have here, again, it's two items, combining them because they're pretty similar. So, to the extent that the Brown Act will allow, how much should the public be involved in the decisions regarding sale and use of city land? In addition to that, what are your plans to increase community dialogue between one moment. Between council and citizens in the next 12 months? Please be specific.
Well, I think getting people involved is very important when it comes to development. And I think the very first step when anybody has an idea that's worth researching, I think a big sign should go up on the piece of property that's being discussed, and a public hearing should be scheduled. And it should be the very first thing so that people could come and hear what the idea is and then voice their opinion, pro or con. But I think I noticed in the city of Oxnard, I see those signs from time to time. Like the first thing you see is a big old sign that says, notice of public meeting. So I think in the future, the city of Port Hueneme needs to do that first and needs to encourage interaction, collaboration, boisterous meetings, whatever it takes to get people involved so that they could make a decision that reflects the entire community, not just a couple loud voices. But the best way to do that is to invite the community openly, early on, and get people involved and invested in the process. And then hopefully by the end of the process, people will feel that they were heard and they contributed to it one way or another, whether they're pro or con. But I think having as much community involvement as possible is the key to moving on big ideas.
How many people are members of the neighborhood organizations in this room right now? So that, excellent. Well, the point is, one of my key issues as far as being just a human being is teamwork. As someone who's worked on the stage and on films and on television, you have to have teamwork. As a singer, I can't mess up the band or I'm in big trouble. I start, they play down just a little bit or something, I'm in trouble. I sound like I don't know what I'm doing. So as a city council, we need input. So if you have a situation that you can bring and let us have an idea of what you're doing, then that's community involvement. And without it, it's guesswork. I've been to several meetings, and the number of citizens who are just there to hear what's going on has been very close to zero. At one point, the council had to move on to something else rather than what was on the agenda. And 6 of about 18 people stood up with briefcases and suits and walked out because they weren't going to get their chance to speak. And that took out almost half the people that were there. So the more people we have involved in the decision making, that will be the transparency we're talking about, because you'll be able to take it back to your neighborhood, because obviously not everybody can get there. There's more people than I've seen, except when there was the Sanctuary Cities thing in Oxnard last year in the city hall.
questions in this that kind of are wrapped together. We were told, and we've sold, by the way, not just us, but within this community with the new industry that's coming in, over $10 million in property has been sold. I don't like, personally, the city selling off our property under normal circumstances, and two different law groups have said, if it goes to a cannabis organization and the federal government cracks down on them, then we own the property and the federal government will take it, we'll write a clause, then if the federal government closes them down, our clause comes back that we own the property again. I don't necessarily agree with lawyers all the time, but they're the one who makes the big bucks and they have some of the best advice in fact. And I noticed the city a lot of times does not, or has not in the past, like the Ocean View Pavilion over there, wonderful facility, but the city wasn't managing it properly. Now we have people who are managing it and making it work. These are things that need to be addressed and worked out, and I don't know quite how to do it all yet, but we keep working on it. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, we're a small community, but we have to be an active community. We can't be reactive. In other words, you need to be involved on an ongoing process. One of the things, while it's a start, we have a citizen advisory board now that we recently developed, that the city did. But really, you need a lot more boards. You need a board to deal with recreation programs. You need a board to deal with the homeless problem. The other issues that we talked about, the water, we need to talk about it. So one of the thoughts I had was, along with the Brown Act, you can only have 2 councilmen at any, more than 2 councilmen, or it becomes a meeting. Maybe what we need to do is to have some town hall type meetings like this, where you come and we're discussing a particular issue. You have cookies and cakes, you come down here, you discuss the issues, we come to a consensus so that the city council is not acting in a void. When you're in a city council meeting, it's a very structured thing. They can only talk about certain things. You're afraid to talk about those things. Maybe get the various different homeowners associations to have a rep to come to these community things so we can be proactive and develop this information on an ongoing, so we really know what the pulse of the community will be. That's my suggestion.
Well, I think the question was about openness and transparency and communication with our public in cases especially having to do with development. Is that correct?
Yeah,
Okay. All right. Our council meetings are open. The city's made good strides to make sure that the live feed from the city council is available, so you can always at night watch it from your computer. But I agree with Rich that the structure of the city council meetings can be somewhat intimidating and not really allow for an open dialogue. I think when it comes to development issues, we definitely need a public hearing process, and I believe that has been the case. I think the city did an excellent job in outreach and civic engagement when they brought in the cannabis businesses, and I would like to see more of that occur when we're introducing significant changes to the city, especially having to do with development.
What I hold in my hand is the last question.
Is it up here like?
So after this question, the candidates will have an opportunity to do their final presentation, and then they'll retire into the back so that for the questions that have been written down and not asked, meet and greet and ask the question. This question goes to Dan. What do you believe is the #1 priority that needs to be addressed in the city, and what are your ideas for addressing it?
Oh, man. I think if we went around the room, we'd probably find, I'm guessing there's about 80 people in here, 80 different top priorities, 80, 70. I think public safety is #1, but I think public safety is an umbrella. It covers the police, fire, and health, traffic, trees falling in the wind, things like that. Those are all public safety issues. So it's not as simple as the #1 priority. But again, works is 7 people short. The office is 4 people short. There are people doing triple duty in management. So there needs to be more personnel. So the number one thing is to get the city onto a level where they can provide the services that the citizenry needs. But the problem is, you have to let the city know what that is. Letters, representatives, because that's the whole point. We're a representative government. You represent the public. You come in and speak. 2 ears, 1 mouth. I'll listen to both of these and speak only with 1 mouth. Please.
I would stop already?
Enough's enough.
Number one priority, I can't be forced right into that. My personal thought is that there's probably about 4, but it's primarily, number one, public safety. That if you don't have a good, safe neighborhood and good, safe schools, people don't want to live there. They don't want to live there. Number 2, we have an aging infrastructure. We have about 50, 60-year-old major pipelines running under our city. We don't even know if they're leaking. We don't know if they have even possibly lead in the ground. We have finally got off this deferred maintenance, and Don Villafona and the Public Works is addressing ways to put out whole new pipelines. That's going to be absolutely critical. Water, we're going to run out of water, kids. I mean, if we're not careful, we are going to run out of water. There's only so much water as a finite source unless we develop means of this economically thing from the ocean. And we have to have honest, transparent, sound financial leadership within our city. No more raises and special bonuses for people who go golden parachutes, and get an honest, established city.
As I stated before, we need to live within our means. We're going to have to make a decision as a group, whether we're going to raise taxes, whether we're going to bring in big business, but nonetheless, we need to live within our means. I particularly came to this city because it has beautiful beaches, it has nice parks, it's a very safe community. I felt comfortable walking the streets at night, not getting mugged. I want to keep all of that, and I'm sure you all want to keep that too. So we've got to make some hard decisions on where that's going to be. In the future, I know the port wants to increase development, and that may help us out. If we have all this property that, that the city has right now that I just learned we have 8 or 9 condominiums. The city shouldn't be in the real estate business, but at the same time, I don't feel comfortable with future city councils to spend it on feel-good things. I want us to have while it's not sexy, I want us to have our reserves so we don't have pipes that are busting and we don't have the money to deal with it. Or we have beaches that are eroding, or we have parks where the grass is 7 feet high because we can't maintain it. These are the non-sexy things that why we want to be here in this community.
Okay, so we've heard a lot about the issues and the priorities and the tough decisions that city council members are going to have to make. But I'm going to say that my top priority is our organization and making sure that we take the dysfunction out of our city council and we get a city council that works together so that we can address the issues that are facing this city. We need to come together. We're going to have 2, maybe 3 new city council members helping to lead this city. I think we have to start there and make sure that we all work together to address these key issues.
I agree with Laura wholeheartedly, and my answer to the question is that the number one priority is the budget. City council makes policy, and then the budget is an estimate, and then at the end of the year, you look at your actuals, and as a city council, we need to go line by line on the budget and see if it's, let's say, police overtime. What's it budgeted for? How much did it result in? And then if we need to adjust the policy to correct the problem with that item, then so be it. But it has to be a disciplined approach. And we have to get very familiar with the budget and the items in the budget and the policy that drives that budget item. If you just talk about the budget, it's a several hundred-page document. But when you get down into the nuts and bolts of it, parking revenue, did parking revenue go up this year? If it didn't go up, why didn't it go up? In terms of workers' comp claims, did our claims go down? Or did they going up? Why did they go up? Let's adjust the policy. So I think what we need to do is we need to have a strong organization, like Laura has just stated, but we need to have a disciplined approach, line by line, on the budget, and solve our budget problems, because we have a budget problem. And in a budget, there's a line item for everything the city does. And there's a policy attached to every line item, and the responsibility of the council is to make policy. Thank you.
Closing question. Oh, forgive me, okay. Well,
Sure did. It'll be exactly the same.
so we're on the closing statements. Jim?
Closing statement, I like this town. It's been a battle, but it's been a lot of fun. And I think we need to see some shifting. One of the things that I've really worked on when I came on is restoring the school crossing guards. Instrumental in getting the Boys and Girls Club back again. Providing equitable taxes and business license, that's in process. Ensure transparency in the government and stop the secret backdoor deals, that's in process. It's not getting all the way there, but it's getting better. We moved the public speaking time to the front of the meeting, so people don't have to sit there and listen to our boring meetings for an hour or two before they can speak. They kept our meetings from being televised. Now we have the meetings televised. Absolutely critical. Created a strong economy for our residents. We've been working very strongly in that. Promoting tourism, rejuvenating the beaches in the Miranda Park. That's been coming on. People like Steve Gama and a lot of other people have been working to it. Now it's coming more and more to fruition. We've increased the business revenue stream up to $600,000 extra a year the first year. And we just keep going. Oh, restoring the Navy-based relationships is very important. We continue not having them as, or before it was, they were the enemy and we were the adversary. That's not right. They are our neighbors. We can work together and we depend on them for their money.
Basically, I've devoted my entire life to community service. Even since I've been here 10 years, I've put my money where my mouth is. The senior holiday luncheon was about to be dropped because of lack of budget. I got a group together, we raised money so that now it will be going on for the next 3 or 4 years. My experience with nonprofits, we developed a program called REACH, Recreation, Education, Arts, Culture in Hueneme. We've now raised close to $30,000. You go to my booth, make sure you put in your bid for a brick, because those things are going to all these different types of things that we like as part of our community. It creates a good positive fabric. May not be the necessities of life, public safety, good water systems. Those are the things that the city has to maximize their budget and be able to spend. As Steve had mentioned, we need to look at the entire budget. My experience is working with budgets over 3 different cities. I'm able to look at all the different line items to see where there's potential waste and where there's ways that we can use best practice to improve that. More importantly, we need you, the community, to get more involved. It's a small community. If you don't want a big bureaucracy, that means you as a community have to volunteer to maybe run a class, help with the beach cleaning, those types of things. So.
Thank you. Laura?
So you've heard a lot about the issues, you've heard about the problems facing our city, and you might feel that there's been a loss of trust in your government. As your city council member, I hope that I can work hard with the rest of the city council to restore your trust in our city government. I want to galvanize our community to work together to address these important issues that are facing the city. I want us to look ahead toward the future, not just what's in front of us, so that your grandchildren, our children after them can find a community that we found here. This beautiful community we call Hueneme Beach is something that we want to leave behind. And I've always been taught, leave something in better condition than you found it. And that's what I hope to do here in Fort Hueneme. And this election cannot be just about electing one of us to serve you. It has to be about us. It has to be what we can do together. And we want to make a better Fort Hueneme. I encourage you all to get out and vote. If you haven't voted already, please tell your friends and your family members how important this election is, not just for the city of Fort Hueneme, but for our country. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. My campaign is simple. I call it the 3 B's, the budget, beach, and business. And like I said, the first priority is the budget. We need to manage that budget. We need to manage expenditures to their lowest possible level. We need to increase revenues to their greatest potential. And there's a lot of things we could do in those areas. In terms of the beach, we need to maximize beach activities and attract wellness activities. You know, there's a couple hundred people that come here and walk every day to the lighthouse. And we need to encourage that. We need to keep our seniors out there moving and staying healthy. And we need a good beach for that. So we need to manage our beach, and I like what's happened, and we need to do it better. We also need to make Hueneme the business-friendly city by the sea. We need to encourage more businesses to come into town. Over the last couple of years, it's been amazing. We got a new Starbucks, we got a Habit, we got all these new businesses coming to town, so that tells me that things are on the move for the better. I am inspired by the turnout tonight, and what I've tried to do over the last couple of years is step up my community service to inspire other people to get involved. And the more people that get involved, whether it's through community service or just speaking out, it's better for our city. So hopefully, if I'm elected, I'll be able to use my energy to encourage community involvement and community service.
I've been living in this county since November of 1966, except for a few years down in Long Beach when I went to school down there, off and on in this area. And I've seen it grow from Camarillo being a speck of light when we came over to Teneo Gray the first time, with 6,000 people, trees everywhere, to what it is now, and this town as well. Oh yeah, it was pretty amazing. I think it's going to be very difficult to have tourism, better business, bigger budget, without having tourism, bigger business, better budget. You can't have one without the other. The Ocean View Pavilion, where I've performed a few times, is a wonderful venue. I don't know how many people have been there to see shows, but they're there. And like I said, I talked to Actors Equity yesterday about bringing more professional actors out here, more professional types of shows, festivals, performances, anything that can bring people in, especially if they come here and then go home somewhere else. You keep your small community, you take their money, say thank you very much, bye-bye. If somebody told me when you drive to Oregon, it says, welcome to Oregon, now go back to California. We don't want to be that rude, but at least when they come here and have a nice time, they will tell their friends, they will come back. I'd love to see different signage on the streets. In Salzburg, Austria, there was a McDonald's. But the way the wall was, you had to see it.
Let's give a round of applause for our candidates.